Deadly fighting has resumed in Gaza after the brief 7-day truce ended on Friday. Hamas says at least 178 people are already dead since the ceasefire ended. Both sides have traded blames for breaching the truce terms. The United States has backed Israeli arguments that Hamas is responsible for ending the pause. It has blamed Hamas for its failure to produce the list of hostages that could have helped a further extension in truce. Meanwhile, Hamas has accused both Israel and the US.
يعني احنا نرجع الفشل الطرفين الاسرائيلي والامريكي. الطرف الاسرائيلي يوم امس بالليل كان واضح انه هو يريد العوده الى القتال. جرى طرح اكثر من فكره من قبل الوسطاء. نحن تجاوبنا مع 3 افكار منها، ورغم ذلك الاسرائيلي كان يقول لا 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 في كل مره.
Israel has vowed to carry on with achieving its goals in Gaza. Country's defense minister told his airmen that Hamas only understands force and they will continue and strike until Hamas is eliminated.
כפי שאמרתי מהיום הראשון, אני חוזר ואומר עכשיו, ארגון החמאס מבין רק כוח. אנחנו נמשיך ונכה אותו עד שנשיג את מטרות המלחמה. פירוק ארגון החמאס, שלילת יכולותיו הצבאיות והחזרתם של החטופים אל ביתם.
Israel has released videos showing its resumed operations in Gaza. It says it struck operational command centers in the enclave, as well as underground sites and a military compound since the truce ended. It also said to have eliminated multiple terrorist cells throughout Gaza. Now, parts of Gaza's southern city, Khan Yunis, have come under intensive bombardment as the deadline lapsed. Several had to be rushed to hospitals as they were injured in the strikes. Meanwhile, Hamas has released video to show launch of drone towards Israeli army tanks in Gaza. Sirens and explosions were heard in Israel overnight as rockets were launched from the Gaza Strip. Now, fighting has also resumed on Israel-Lebanon border. Israeli army released a video to show army airstrikes and artillery fire targeting Hezbollah in Lebanon. And as per Lebanese state media, Israeli shelling killed 3 people in South Lebanon after the truce ended. Israel has confirmed in the meanwhile that 6 of Hamas hostages are now dead. Army has yet not verified the death of the youngest hostage taken by Hamas, who's a 10-month-old baby, and also his family. Hamas had claimed that the family was killed in Israeli strikes. Now, talking about the aid situation in Gaza, the White House says it believed Israel will allow humanitarian aid trucks to enter Gaza, but the number of deliveries will likely be reduced significantly. UN, meanwhile, says that humanitarian aid delivery to Gaza is unknown after the restart of fighting.
It's kind of a unknown. Even before this pause, we were able to get aid in, to do whatever we can, but it just, when fighting is going on, it makes it that much more complicated, challenging, and most importantly, dangerous for those delivering the aid and receiving the aid.
Now, to get you more details on what the collapse of the truce may mean, we are being joined by Edward P. Joseph, who's a senior fellow at the Johns Hopkins University and a foreign policy analyst. He's joining us live from Washington, D.C. Welcome to the broadcast, Mr. Joseph.
Good to be with you.
I'll begin with the renewed fighting in Gaza that has stretched into a second day on Saturday, and after talks extended, a week-old truce with Hamas collapsed. And what happens next?
Well, we see that Secretary of State Antony Blinken is doing his best to try to ensure that the situation does not revert to what we saw before. He did 2 things that was very important today in Israel. Number one, he made it very clear, as your introductory package showed, that Hamas is to blame singularly for the breakdown of the humanitarian pause. And he noted the terrorist attack in Jerusalem that killed 3 Israelis. and stated that Hamas already had not fulfilled the agreed terms for the humanitarian pause, in addition to firing rockets before the pause had even ended. So he made that very clear. At the same time, he also made it clear to the Israelis that they have to do much better in terms of sustaining their operations, which the United States still backs. There's not any difference about that. The U.S. supports the intent to destroy Hamas and get rid of this virulent actor in Gaza. But according to Antony Blinken, he states, "I made it clear that the amount of civilian casualties we had in the north can't repeat itself in the south." That is when Israel turns its attention, the military operation, to the south. And from the Israeli side, the indicators are that they understand that. And a senior military official in Israel indicated that the operation would be relying more on ground operations than it would on air, and that this would reduce civilian casualties. Please.
And Mr. Joseph, Qatar now says that it will persist in seeking a renewed agreement, but warned that the resumption of hostilities is complicating matters. Now, what do you think this renewed agreement would look like, if at all it comes into the picture?
It's hard to understand what the Qataris exactly have in mind. What they presumably want to do is to try to resurrect the terms that led to the initial hostage release, but that's very difficult here because, again, as Secretary of State Blinken made it unequivocally clear, it was Hamas that broke the terms. So from the Israeli side, there's already very clear that there's a breakdown here and a clear demonstration of what Hamas's intentions are. And the wider point here, Aditi, that I think people don't understand is the unity within Israel to, at this time, even despite serious concerns and even opposition to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. And much of this, of course, stretches back to October 7th, which, of course, has been lost in the minds of so many protesters around the world who are, of course, understandably concerned about the death toll on Palestinians, including women and, above all, children. So that's what's been lost here. And what I would do, Aditi, as we don't have time, is simply turn your viewers' attention to the Twitter profile of a former U.S. Army officer, Alex Plitzas, who witnessed the video. This is a battle-hardened expert who has witnessed ISIS videos, Alex Plitzas, P-L-I-T-S-A-S, who saw yesterday the Hamas's own videos of what it did on October 7th. And he, Alex Plitzas, states that I can tell you unequivocally, having seen ISIS videos, that what I saw by Hamas was worse than the ISIS videos I've had to review in the course of my duties. And he goes on, Alex Plitzas, P-L-I-T-S-A-S, to say one of the more chilling and vile aspects of this Hamas attack that differs from videos I've seen of both al-Qaeda and ISIS atrocities is the maniacal laughter and the joy that the terrorists expressed while torturing and murdering unarmed civilians, to include women and small children. So see, this is what has been lost here in of course, the discussion of the understandable of the terrible death toll on Palestinian civilians, is that Hamas is not interested in liberation. It is interested in annihilation. And the United States understands that. Arab neighbors of Israel understand that. But it is the challenge for Israel to continue this military operation while minimizing the terrible toll that has been inflicted on Palestinian civilians, above all children. Please.
Mr. Joseph, speaking of challenges and complications, I would like to shift your attention now to the reports that have come in that Yemen's Houthi rebels had threatened to escalate their attacks while the ceasefire was on against Israel if ceasefire ends. And now there have been a lot of talks and incidents that point towards the war possibly turning into a multi-front war for Israel, and also the latest fighting on the Israel-Lebanon border that has resumed. Now, do you think the spillover is in the vicinity?
I think it's always a possibility. We know that. For the moment, we see that Hezbollah, which is the primary actor, not the Houthis in Yemen, they are already did a demonstration act by seizing a British vessel in the Red Sea. So they already demonstrated their intent to try to be part of the overall operation. But it is really Hezbollah that is the main actor. That's the party that has serious missilery, completely backed by Iran, which has projects its destabilizing influence in the Middle East through proxies like Hamas and Hezbollah. And so far, Hezbollah has backed off. Its leader, Nasrallah, has said that, indicated when he gave a big address, that they would not take this opportunity now to join in on behalf of Hamas. So they backed off. And the reason they backed off, Aditi, is because they're afraid that they will be pulverized by Israeli military if they get into an engagement and earnest conflict, direct conflict with Israel. And that will put them at disadvantage in Lebanon, where, of course, they are despised by other factions within Lebanon. So that's, for the moment, Iran and its proxy Hezbollah have been cautious about getting into a frontal conflict with Israel. Please.
Mr. Joseph, thank you for joining us and giving us all those insights. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.